My mum's watching this.
And then I just like hid, just literally bawling my eyes out.
Cut that out. Cut that out. I don't think that if I stayed there, I would be who I was. Who I am, sorry.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode, or the first episode of Jonah and the Pod. Today we have a very special guest. We have the wonderful young lady that asks all the right questions at Bible study, has a heart for injustice, and just everyone seems to love her. So we are privileged to have Sarah Awad on the podcast.
Good afternoon.
Why are you a teacher?
I am a teacher.
So if you don't know Sarah, do you want to sort of just explain who you are
Sure.
a little bit?
This is the worst question at job interviews. I'm Sarah. I'm 27. I'm a teacher, a high school teacher, specializing in English and society and culture, but actually just casual teaching because it's better. I hate that. What else? Oh my gosh, Jonah, this is too hard. I don't know anything about myself.
That's fine. So you teach.
I teach. I read a lot of books.
She does love books.
I do love books. I love coffee. Anything caffeinated.
Do you want to say your
actually.
age? Or are you
I did.
afraid?
I said I'm 27.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Elderly. 27, but I did get told that I look 12 this morning. So you decide if I'm actually 27.
Look, hopefully during the podcast that people will sort of know. And most people watching already know who you are. So
That's true.
Fine. You're
Lucky them.
that famous.
I'm just kidding.
Whoever A-lister right
Are we
next
going to
to
say famous? No. A-lister. Wow.
Look, Sarah has no idea what we're going to talk about. And a little bit me too, but that's fine.
Gorgeous.
It's more authentic that way,
True.
I think. The first...
More unhinged also.
It's better. The first thing I want to say or ask, the whole point of this is to hear people's stories, testimonies, and stuff.
Sure.
Before you start, because we spoke about this before, and you said you have a semi-boring testimony. It's like it's whatever. I said this to Fatty as well because he said the same thing and ripped that podcast.
Would you like to tell everyone what happened to that podcast?
Look, you probably know, but I forgot to press record. So
it's okay.
But yeah, I was saying to him at the beginning, I was like, okay, everyone has a testimony. To be honest, most of them are pretty basic and whatever. But I think with each testimony, it always it can impact anyone. There are people that have the wildest testimonies. They've, the standard, I was into drugs, I was into all this stuff. And
which, to be honest, those testimonies are actually the minority, I feel like.
Oh, for sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people's testimony is boring.
And that's what they've experienced. They haven't experienced what you've experienced.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced what you've experienced. You haven't experienced what I've experienced. So you sharing your experience and your life story can also help me in whatever way. You don't know exactly what I need to hear. Maybe it's
that's
maybe
true.
Maybe it is the standard I was born in a Christian home, and people don't actually. There are some people that weren't in a Christian home, and to see maybe you, I don't know. We'll get.
I get what you mean.
Yeah. So I think I just put a lot of pressure on you.
No, you're fine.
There's no pressure on sharing every detail, obviously. But I think it's important. And everyone, if you are a future guest or whatever it is, this is probably something I'm going to ask you the first time. And I'm sure you'll come on another time and we can talk about a plethora of things. But for this one, I think this is
a good starting point.
Yeah. Just
okay. So would you like me to share my testimony?
Yeah. If you want to go from childbirth to now.
Oh, I'll keep it short. My specialty is saying long story short and then giving the long story anyway. Okay, so I'll try not to do that. Right. There's really not a lot to it. So obviously, like I said, I was born in a Christian home, which is a huge blessing, obviously. And having parents that love God and modeled him for my whole life was amazing. I was born in a Baptist church and a Baptist faith, I guess. So went to Baptist church, a Middle Eastern one, just a local one in Campbelltown, which if you don't know, I'm sure most of you know, I'm from Campbelltown, the ghetto, I know. So I was there. And then when I was about 16 or 15, maybe let's say 15, actually no, skip back a bit. I was the only person my age So my sister and my brother were 6 years older than me, and all of the youth or the Sunday school kids were their age. So I was actually the only kid in Sunday school. So I was top of the class every time, got all the questions right, but I was always by myself. So when it got to youth age, I was like 15, 16, church was super boring because as a teenager, like most of the time you go to church for friends and like for fellowship and stuff, which I think is important as much as the God element. Anyway, so it started to get really boring at about 15, 16, and I kind of just started to slack off a little bit. And I think I was at a point, I can't really fully remember, but I stopped going, or I would go really sporadically, or I would be really difficult with my parents about going. And this is so cringe, and I'm truly going to embarrass myself with the story that I'm about to tell you. But listen, it was what got me back into church, so I'm going to tell you. Okay. So I was a huge fangirl back when I was a teenager. Like it was actually embarrassing.
Of anything? Or like-
No, like I loved boy band. Okay, specifically I loved One Direction. I loved One Direction. I loved Justin Bieber. And there was another band. I don't know if you know them. They're called The Wanted. Have you ever heard of them?
No idea.
Look, they're another British boy band. It's really cringe. Anyway, I loved them, right? And they were coming to Australia. And at the time, do you know those fangirls? I mean, to be honest, you did this like a couple months ago with Sunrise for KSI. But you know the fangirls that go to the airport? My friends were that. And they were like, Sarah, the Wanted are coming. We need to go to the airport. I was like, my parents are never going to let me. Like, I'm 15. I'm Middle Eastern. I can barely go out past 6 p.m. You think they're going to let me go to the airport? Sorry, Mum. I know you're watching this. Anyway, so they were like, you need to go meet them because they knew how much I loved them, whatever. And so naturally, I was trying to convince my parents. And whenever I want to convince my parents about anything, I always use my brother because he has a way with them. I don't know how he does it, but he does. So I was like, Salim, like, I need you to help me. How do I convince them? Mind you, I'm at school. Sorry, this is me telling the long story.
That's okay.
I'm at school in the bathrooms during class. I'm like, can I please go to the bathroom to call my brother? They don't know why I'm there.
Yeah.
Calling my brother, trying to get him to convince them. He's like, I'll see what I can do. Long story short, he said, it's not long. It's not short at all. He says, okay, listen, this is the deal. They said that you have to go to church for 6 months and they'll let you go tonight to the airport because it was that night. And I was like, fine, done. I'll do it. I'll do whatever. So he drives me to the airport, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I meet the band. Very exciting stuff. But the deal was that I had to go to church with them. And so whatever, I think I started going back. And then maybe like a week or two after this happened, my sister and I were invited to a birthday for someone that we knew from childhood. And at the birthday, there was this girl. She was older than me. She was probably like in her 20s. And I was 17 at this point or 16. And my sister knew her because they worked together. And so she was talking to me, whatever. And she was like, hey, do you go to a youth group or anything like that? I didn't even know she was Christian. I just met this girl. And I was like, oh, like kind of, not really, blah, blah, blah. She's like, you should come to mine. And she invited me to a Pentecostal Church youth group. And that's kind of where I started going. And that's kind of where I re-met Jesus, I would say.
Yeah.
So that was year 12. And that's when it kind of became personal for me because before I feel like it was very... I know about God and like I can tell you all the answers in Sunday school. Like I said, I was the only one in Sunday school. So I knew all the information. But it wasn't really personal for me, if that makes sense. So I went there and then I eventually changed to another Pentecostal church and had a stint in the Pentecostal church before coming to Graceway and kind of settling back in my Baptist roots. But that's kind of where it became real for me. And so I credit that church and like that period of my life for reintroducing me to Jesus and kind of making it personal.
Do you think were you a believer before re-meeting Jesus, or do you think that
that's a good question? I feel like I was, but it's hard to say. I always used to have this paranoia, and there was like one specific youth leader who was older than me, like he was like married, and he was like our youth leader. I was like, how do you know if you're saved? And he said to me once, and I don't know how biblical this is, but it helped me. He was like, if you're worried about whether or not you're saved, I would say it's a good sign that you are. Because not like, see, that's the thing. It's confusing. Yeah. He was kind of just like a non-believer wouldn't really care, or it wouldn't be something that they're consciously thinking about. Or actually, he said, the enemy wouldn't plant fear in your mind that you weren't saved. If you weren't. Hang on, let me rephrase that. No, the enemy wouldn't plant fear in your mind if you weren't saved. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know how biblical it is, but
I guess I get where he's coming from, but also it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know, if if you, I don't know, people want to be saved just to, I guess, get to heaven.
Yeah.
So it's like, am I going to heaven? That's maybe the question people are asking.
Yeah. And to be honest, as like a 14, 15-year-old, that's a valid question.
Yeah.
Because I was young.
Yeah. But yeah, I get where it's coming from.
Honestly, I don't know. I consider like the date I got saved, or I don't remember the specific date to be honest, but the time period somewhere in year 12 when it became like a personal like a salvation relationship.
So you re-meeting Jesus.
I feel like that was me being saved, but that's only because I'm not 100% sure that I was before.
Okay.
But that's when I was sure.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Wait.
Because
you said 16, 15, but you said year 12.
Yeah, so when I first, like, when I met that band or whatever, it was like year 10-ish.
Okay.
I mean, year 11-ish, sorry. 16, 17. But then when I, like, started committing to this church that she invited me to and I was like, okay, I'm going to make this real, it was around the beginning, mid-year 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because I didn't have a long period of time in youth group.
Yeah. So the funny thing is your, like, I guess the upbringing is similar to mine, where like,
Oh, really?
I was the only person in Sunday school.
Really?
Even in youth, there was like no one my age. It was
so
weird.
Interesting. I thought your church was bigger.
It's just, I don't know, my age bracket was just not there.
Fair enough.
It was weird because we had people above, like 1 year older than me, but felt like 5 years older than me.
Okay. Yeah.
I had people 1 year younger than me that felt like they were much younger than me.
Okay.
And so I was just in this weird,
So it was like a maturity thing.
I don't know. It was because I always say this. I was a 30-year-old when I was born. Like I don't know. It was it's a weird sort of, I don't know. I was in this weird like place, and it was so hard. Like just, I don't know. By God's grace, I just continued and persevered. I sort of took the leadership role when I was like 16, which is wild. Like even at youth, even at youth, I was like, I don't know, just
guess I'll lead.
Yeah, I was helping out the youth leaders. I wasn't technically a youth leader, but I'd run games. I'd do whatever I could. It's similar, like our childhood, and then it's funny how things just.
I think because we didn't have a youth group, like we did, but they were like all mid-20s. So it was more of a young adults.
Oh, yeah, okay.
This church kind of had like Sunday school, and then it went straight into young adults. So if you were like in high school, you'd be lumped with like 25-year-olds. So, and there was no one, I think there was actually no one younger than me. They were probably like I'm like 16. They were probably like 8, like half my age.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not like I could jump in and help them lead because it was like there was no middle service between Sunday school and youth or young adults. I mean, sorry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. It was did you have friends other than like I guess school friends? Or did you have school friends? Like this is
no. I did. The one thing about me is that my memory is horrific, like so bad. I don't remember anything. So me thinking about that is like, I had a few friends that were, I had one friend that was like a family friend and I'd like bring her with me, but she didn't come all the time. But then it was mostly just being friends with my siblings' friends. That's kind of how it was until I was a bit older. Like even when I was 18, we had like a group of friends from, am I allowed to like name names in like a good way?
Yeah.
Like, do you know Kim and Yusuf and stuff?
Yeah.
Like, they're way older than me. But when I was like 17, 18, we'd be going to Wanderers games with them and like that group. And they were all way older than me. But they were my siblings' friends, so I became friends with them. So it wasn't until I started going to youth group, like my own youth group, that I started to make my own friends, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. I think, that's... I was going to say that's similar to me again, but... It's not really.
That's okay.
I got friends once I got to Word of Life.
Oh, well, yeah, that is kind of similar because Word of Life is probably your like equivalent to me going to a youth group. Like it's your own thing for the first time.
Yeah.
That your family wasn't at.
It's like it's brand new.
Yeah.
No one's there.
No one's there, yeah. And for me as well, sorry, like I went from Baptist to Pentecostal. So I was the first one in my family to kind of like change denomination. You know, even though we eventually came back, it was brand new.
Sorry, we did have to just cut just then because we don't know what just happened. So going on from your testimony, I wanted to ask a bit of a deeper question.
Sure.
If you don't want to answer, you don't have to, but it's all right. We'll try to answer
Okay,
it.
I'll try.
Is there anything specific in your life that you sort of just can't, or it feels like you can't get right, or it's something that has just been constantly like annoying you, or I don't know. Like for me, I'll just give you an example. For me, it was friendships until Word of Life. I think for me, like friendships was always an issue. Like if I had a friend, then it would be mad, like dramatic and just
Like
chaos.
you couldn't pick the right friends, or you didn't know how to navigate friendships.
I actually have no idea. I still to this day I don't really know. It was it was a weird one because like obviously I loved the friendships that I had, but each one was just like turned from like very high to very low like real quick, and I had multiple of those.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It got to a state where I was just because it happened so much. I was like, it has to be me.
Oh
like,
yeah.
But I would always put in effort to do the best. But then I was like, maybe it's not the best. And you guys will hear my testimony one day. Maybe it's already out. Maybe it's not, I don't know. But it's part of my testimony.
Okay.
So was there anything like that for you?
There's so many things. I think you saying friendships made me think about, and I still do this. I'm a huge people pleaser, and I've always been one. And it's funny because like I have a pretty strong personality, like you know that, and like most of you know that, and I'm pretty opinionated and I'm pretty like set on when I want to do something or I believe something is right, I'll stick to it. But at the same time, and I don't know how, I'm very like people pleasery.
Yeah.
And so whether that meant like I would just choose things that made other people happy as opposed to making God happy or God's will, or even just things that I wanted, if that makes sense. And so I was always stuck in friendships where they were toxic because I would just do as they were and like, do what they wanted and, be who they wanted me to be. But I still struggle with that. It's really hard for me to make a decision just in general because I'm like, but how will that affect other people? And that makes me sound really selfless. It's not a selfless thing. It's more just it's an approval for people. I'm like, it's like a validation thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is so unhealthy because it's like, I'm not looking to please people, but it's just something that we fall back into. I mean, I'm probably not the only person, but do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like,
no, for sure it makes sense. The more you speak is like very similar.
Yeah.
I think still.
Do you think it's a younger child thing? We're both the youngest.
Maybe it's a weird thing. I always have this saying. Maybe your experience is different, but I'll coin the saying. It's probably a saying, but I always said I'd rather be used and abused than not used at all. Okay. Yeah. Mainly because like, I don't know. I want to be used. That's sort of my thing. I don't want to waste my life in a sense. And I think having that mentality is, I always keep saying, double-edged sword. It's a massive double-edged sword. Yeah. To what extent? What extent are you just someone you're getting walked on, or to what extent are you actually being helpful? Yeah. Like if I'm just letting, I don't know, my friends or whoever do whatever, and I'm just trying to like please them in a sense, am I actually doing them a benefit? Probably not. It's hard because like Jesus kind of modeled the perfect balance. Yeah. And it's so hard to get that right. Yeah. Yeah. But he really did. He did. It's crazy. He flipped tables, but he did. Like, but then he was also like, yeah. Yeah. So, that makes sense. We had this conversation a couple of weeks ago about narcissism, but would you rather be a narcissist or a people pleaser? And I think we had the same view where it was like, I would rather be the one that's being used than be using people. Yeah. I think it's more biblical, but it's hard because if you do it too much, then it's just getting walked over. Yeah, it's a tough one. It is. Anthony just walked in because he reset the cameras. That's why we both looked at the door. Yeah. How about let's go a bit more positive. All right. Is there anything in like the opposite question? Is there anything in life that you just feel like God's sort of blessed you with? Maybe gifts that you have, or like something that you feel like you have gotten right?
Okay. I think, okay, this is hard to answer because I feel like in recent years I haven't been doing it as much just because of my own like life circumstances. But I feel like I've been blessed with being someone that people go to for not even just advice, but just to talk. Like that was something that I noticed all throughout high school, was that I was always the counselor friend, even though I have absolutely no like experience to give you advice. Please don't take me. don't model my life, but anyway. But I feel like I've always been the person that people go to for comfort in that sense. And I don't think that it's that strong now, and I need to get back on that. But that's just my own like lacking. But I feel like God has really shown me how I can be used in that way, especially with girls, mostly obviously with girls, not like with guys, but because I was like a youth leader for a while. And
were you? What the heck? I did not know that.
Oh, really?
I did not know that.
Oh, I was a youth leader for years.
Oh, wow. What church?
I was a youth leader at
the Pentecostal one.
No, the Pentecostal one. Yeah. I was a youth leader at the Baptist church for like 2 minutes at our church.
Oh, really?
Maybe for like a term.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I realized a lot with like the young girls, like they really like relied on that aspect of me, and so that was nice.
Do you reckon it's because you keep it real? Like
maybe.
Yes, because when I think most people, when they talk to you, or when like in comparison to maybe other Christians or other people in general, you keep it real. Like obviously there are things that you obviously don't bring out, which is natural because you don't want to show everything. Do you think it's because like you're just, everything you see is what you get in a sense?
Potentially.
I think, yeah. Because if I was going to say, if I was a young girl.
Jonah?
Look, maybe one day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, look, maybe. Yeah. I think the thing is like, I'm really passionate about like my friends, or even people that like, even I'm not lying to you, I have like a year 11 girl that she'll never watch this, so that's fine. I have a year 11 girl at school that for some reason I've only had her a few times. Like I'm a casual teacher, so I go from class to class, but I've had her a couple times, and she just tells me about her life and like her boyfriend dramas, and I'm just like, she's like, Miss, we break up every week, and I was like, you deserve more than that. If he's breaking up with you every week, babe, there's a problem. But I'm really like so big on these girls knowing their worth, and I think it's because I didn't for so long, and so like I can come across as real and like maybe even a little bit tough or harsh, but it's because I'm like, just like, you need better, you deserve better. And I feel like maybe they don't get that from other people. Maybe their friends are just like, oh, I don't really like they're soft. I don't know. I'm like, I'm not one of those girls that's very like soft. You know, we know this.
Yeah.
But I feel like it can be used to my advantage when, or like not to my advantage, but like, do you know what I mean? It can be beneficial when they need like tough love.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's the realness in that.
It's not even just like tough love. I think it's just, I don't know.
I'm just brutal sometimes.
I don't know. I'm not a teenage girl, so I don't know.
You haven't copped it from me yet.
Yeah, but I feel like even like I think my mom's similar.
Yeah.
But it's not really brutality. I think
I'll just tell you how it is.
Yeah. And often that's more loving than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends where it's coming from. Like when I say I'll tell it how it is, I mean like if you're getting mistreated, I will tell you. And I will tell you because I want you to stop being in that situation. And sometimes like coming from someone saying, wait, what? Coming from someone, yeah, that makes sense, right? Like me, who was mistreated or has been in situations where I've been mistreated by friends or anyone, like you don't often see that until someone points it out to you and says, can you not actually see like what situation you're in? And so I think that it's just like from being in those situations, I don't want people to be in that. And so I would rather just tell you straight and have you even, I've had friends that have been like kind of cut because I'm being honest with them. And later they'll be like, you know what, you were right.
Yeah.
I just couldn't see it at the time. And so it's never being brutal from like a rude or a hurtful place. It's just like it's almost like an urgency. But then you've got people that are gifted with being really gentle, and that works too. So I think both are good. Yeah. It just like is situational.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually speaking about this to one of my youth kids on Friday. I was saying like, I was more talking about evangelism.
Yeah.
But it's similar to what you're saying. It's like, if we do care for people, we do love them. Yeah, I guess let's talk about evangelism for a second. It's like, especially non-believers, we want, like, if we love them, we will say we'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And often we think, oh, I don't want to annoy them. I don't want to make them feel some sort of certain way.
Yeah.
Like, obviously with wisdom.
Yeah.
And that's been my goal this year, is work on evangelism, because that's my weak spot.
Mine too, I think.
I work well with believers.
Yeah.
And building up believers and whatnot. But non-believers, I stink.
I think honestly most people, they're not their strong point.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage, I feel like.
Yeah, and you could say like, people have different gifts, but this is something that we're all called.
Yeah,
to.
100%.
It's literally Great Commission 100%. Is that. And so I was just saying, like, it's very selfish of us to think like, oh, I don't want to hurt them and stuff. It's a weird concept, because it's like, how does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't want to hurt them, or you don't want to annoy them or whatever, but it's actually selfish of you by thinking like that. And I think it's similar to what you're saying, as in, like, when you do approach someone and you tell them how it is, it's actually the loving thing to do, because you're not like, oh no, it's okay, you can whatever, because then they're in a worse situation from that.
Yeah.
You're sort of risking taking the hit for their greater good, if that makes sense, which is admirable.
Let me just preface as well, I'm not going out of my way just being like, you need to get out of this relationship. It's if they seek me out. No, like, do you know what I mean? It's not unsolicited.
But it's weird, because you said this random year 11 girl.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. Like, when you said, is there anything that you're particularly gifted at? This is what I'm saying. I feel like, and it was all through high school. People that I weren't even particularly close with, if I noticed that they were sad, I'd be like, hey, you're all good. And then they would just like spill their life to me. It's like, all right, I guess I'm listening now. And it was good. Like, I really liked it, and I was whatever. But so the same thing with her. Like, I had her a few times, and I don't even know how it came out. I think I was just like, no, I don't even think I asked. I think she just was like, Miss, this is my life. She did. She goes, Miss, do you want to know my life story? And we're in the middle of class. So I was like, oh, maybe not right now. She just started telling me. I was like, okay, guess we're listening.
Okay, that's
so funny.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think it's, like, I'm not taking anything away from what you're saying, but do you think there's a possibility that it's her just like saying that to everyone, or is it specifically to you?
It could be, for sure. I don't know. I've never seen her with another teacher.
I'm not saying she is, but
no, it's valid. I have no idea, honestly. Like, I don't know. It's a good question. I've never seen her with another teacher. So.
You're a younger teacher.
Yeah.
So it could also be that. Maybe
it could be.
She's
I walked past her in the playground after she told me, because I've had her like a few times. She would tell me little updates. Mind you, I don't ask. She just tells me. And then I walked past her in the playground during lunch or something, and she was just like, Miss, this is the update. And like stopped me and told me the rest of it. So it was like, it's not always just in class. It's just like she'll see me and she'll tell me.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know, but honestly, she could be just the type of kid that was like, that just wants to talk to anyone who will listen.
From what you're saying, I don't think it would be that.
It probably is because I'm young.
Yeah, maybe. But even, I was gonna get like extremely deep. Like, she could be having like some mad issues at home, and like she doesn't have someone to talk to. So she sees you, and maybe just the way you condone yourself, the way you talk, the way you whatever. Maybe I haven't seen you in a school setting or a teacher setting, but if you are what you're like if you are
how you are outside of school,
then I get it why she's approaching you and stuff.
I honestly don't know. Maybe.
Again, I don't want to, because I know you don't want to.
I have an aversion to deep conversations.
Yeah,
it's okay. Just we'll work with it.
You said you had experience where you don't feel worth, or you didn't know your worth. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about that a bit, or?
My mum's watching this.
If you don't have to,
I will try not to go specific.
Okay.
You can cut that part out.
Okay.
Okay. honestly, it's just like from when I was in high school to even my early 20s, it goes back to the people pleasing aspect where I really almost, what's the word? I put people on a pedestal and I would do anything to seek their approval. But the problem is that there's two problems, obviously. Why did I say obviously? There's two problems. The first one is that you shouldn't put anyone on a pedestal except Jesus, obviously. And then the second, so I wasn't picking people like correctly. If you can look up to people, I think that's fine, and like have mentors or whatever, people that you kind of look up to. Yeah. They shouldn't be on a pedestal, but you should also pick them wisely. I wasn't doing that. And so because I wasn't picking the right people, the things that I would be doing or like the way I would be acting or who I would become to get their approval was not an ideal person because they were not living an ideal life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was just a continuous trend because it was a people-pleasing mentality, and I was just picking people that on the outside I thought looked good or looked cool or whatever. But then when I got to know them, I was like, oh, you've got a lot of issues as well. And we all do, but I shouldn't have been idolizing them.
Yeah.
And then the issue is that with that as well is when you do something that they don't like and they kind of tell you, you lower your worth just to get their approval back. And so it's a continuous cycle. And it happens all the time. It happens in friendships and relationships. And honestly, even in churches, sometimes like really unhealthy cycles of, I don't know what word I want to use, but do you know what I mean?
Sort of idolizing someone.
Yeah. And just like doing anything to win their approval. But it's toxic when it's someone, I guess, higher than you, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was just something that was consistently happening in my life. I'm kind of just waffling at this point because I'm trying to like figure out how to word it. But yeah, I don't know. It just all goes back to me trying to please other people and be who they wanted me to be. And then in the process, just lowering myself because I didn't know what I was worth and I didn't know what I brought to the table. And I didn't know that my, I guess, input or who I was valuable as well. It was more just modeling myself to be like other people or to be who they wanted me to be to get their approval. But they were using that a lot of the time, and a lot of like the time people will and people have like use me for it, or you like not have, hopefully not anymore, but you know what I mean?
That's it's tough.
Yeah.
And I can sort of pick up what you're putting down with what you don't want to share. And that's more than okay. The whole point of this is just to give people a platform to talk. Yeah. And give people opportunities to listen and hear people's perspectives on things. This is something I don't even know if I want to share, but okay. I'll share it anyway.
Sure.
So similar to what happened to you, where you didn't feel your worth. Mine was similar, but in a positive way. It was weird.
Okay.
This was recent, very recent.
Okay. How recent are we talking? Like weeks, days, months? Like yesterday?
Days.
Okay. All right.
Actually, you're involved in it a little bit.
Oh, all right. This is news to me.
So, it's actually fine because this is going to be released in like 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
No, I don't know when it's going to be.
Oh, life could be changed by then.
I was going to say it's a bit fresh, but that's fine.
It's fine. Wait, is it positive?
Yeah, it's positive.
Oh, it's positive. Okay, I'm not scared anymore.
Negative to positive.
Okay, sure.
So I've been thinking about life recently.
As you do.
Yeah, and Friday night was like a really down point for me. I was just struggling with a few things. My relationship with God wasn't very strong. My reading, my praying, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I guess my sin was strong, which isn't good. And then I've been speaking to like Fadi, Bashar, Yusuf, to standard.
The boys.
The boys, yeah. I've been speaking to them about just like, I guess, the state I'm in, the relationship with God, my sin, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just, I think it was just on my mind. And then Sunday happened. Mm-hmm. And then in the morning, after church, you say to me, so this is where you come in. Yeah, you come in. You said like, what did you say? I don't know.
I honestly don't remember what I said.
You say, "Oh, you're collecting crowns" or something
Oh,
along those lines. And I was like it's very.
People are not going to understand that. You did not explain that.
I didn't explain that. Pretty much, she just said because like.
He was
just doing
serving as per usual, and I said to him, "Oh, can I tell them like what your mum said on Friday night?" Like on Friday, he went to church. I'll be brief. He went to church early because I asked his mum, "Did you come with Jonah?" She said, "No, I took a separate car because he came early." And I said, "Oh, so servant-hearted that boy." And so I said to Jonah on Sunday, like, "Oh, you're collecting crowns or whatever it is that God gives us when we go to heaven."
Yeah. So this played a part in what happened later. That's why I had to preface. Then later on, me and Bashar, we went to lunch because we all had a wedding that night, so we didn't go lunch as
with
everyone.
The church, yeah.
But me and Bashar were like, my family went home.
Yeah.
I can hang out a bit, like, because girls have to prepare like 14 hours to.
Me stressing, and Jonah's like, me and Bash are gonna go have lunch.
Yeah, and I literally like got home at like 3. The wedding was at 4.
Gosh.
But I was like, Bashar, do you want to just go for lunch, just whatever? So we started talking, and I was like, I can't remember how the conversation went, but it ended at like me saying, I feel sort of maybe what is it, hypocritical? I don't know what it is, but I felt something was off because something that you said. The thing is with Graceway, everyone is so encouraging. It's like, it's a massive blessing. Like haven't had this.
Yeah.
So it's a massive blessing. I thank God for it completely. But it was like, these people don't actually, I'm not saying you put me on a pedestal, but in my eyes, people see me as someone that is here when I feel like I'm over here.
Okay.
Because the sin that I do, the me not reading, me not praying, all this stuff. The night comes, we're at the wedding. Bashar and Fadi, you guys will know Bashar and Fadi. If you don't, you'll know them soon enough. Bashar and Fadi, they were outside. I just went and joined them, whatever. And then they just say things like to sort of G me up. They're like, Jonah, why don't you have a girlfriend? All this stuff. Like,
Jonah, I'm lost in your eyes. To quote fads.
Like just like stuff like that. And then we were at a wedding, so I think everyone's sort of. I was thinking, this is a tangent, but I was thinking on Sunday. I was like, man, everyone gets so weird at weddings.
They do.
Everyone gets.
There's something in the air.
Yeah. It's like maybe everyone's like, oh, I want this in my life, but everyone's like super emotional. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, I can't. So we go
the boys
inside.
were saying things G'ing you up.
Yeah.
Yep. And
they were just G'ing me up, and then we all had to go inside.
Yep.
Like after a bit, we all went inside, and I was just thinking about like these guys were saying like, I deserve a good woman or whatever. Like they were saying. I just kept thinking about it. And speeches were going on. Couldn't tell you what the speeches were on. I was just thinking about this, and I was like, man, like in my head, I was like, I don't deserve like anything. I don't deserve Graceway. I don't deserve like a good girl. I don't deserve any of it. Everything that I have, I don't deserve. You saying things like that are encouraging me, I don't deserve it. So this was playing on my mind. I was like, holding back tears. I'm like, I'm not going to do it.
Oh my gosh. Meanwhile, I'm reading a contract.
No, it was after that.
After that, okay.
No, there's no context for that.
No, we're not going to give context.
Just like we're getting married, you're reading a contract.
You don't deserve it. I'm just kidding.
And I kept thinking of this. And then, so it was Charlie and Ranya's wedding. Shout out to them.
God bless
Charlie,
you guys.
when he was talking about Rania, I think the first thing he said was, or maybe I can't remember actually.
I'll correct because I was listening.
You were listening? He started talking about the grace of God.
Yeah.
He's like, the first thing he said, because this was on my mind about the whole time during the speeches, was like, I'm undeserving. I don't deserve a girl, whatever. And then he said, by the grace of God, I didn't deserve anything, all this stuff. And I instantly got up as I left.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't even see. I think I was turning the other way.
And then I just like hid. I just literally bawling my eyes out.
Oh, Jonah.
Yeah, and if you don't know, I don't cry very often.
Yeah, I've never seen you cry.
Yeah, I don't think Bashar's ever seen me cry.
The last time Jonah cried was probably when Messi won the World Cup.
I didn't cry.
There was one tear.
Yeah, it's a bit of tears, but I think Jeanette's wedding was maybe just weddings.
Maybe
Maybe I'm the emotional one.
Stop.
And then I was just hiding. There was part of me that didn't want anyone to come, but there was also part of me that maybe someone should come. And then my mom calls me. She's like, "Where are you?" And I was like, I'm good. I'm nowhere to be seen. I'm fine.
Is this when you and Bash went and had your conversation?
Yeah. So my mom was like, "Talk to me." But as soon as my mom saw me like crying, she started crying. I was like, "Man, this is not the."
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, and she's like, "Talk to me." I was like, "Mom, trust me, it's fine. Don't worry about it." Because I'm like, I'm not here to comfort you. Like, this sounds bad. I'm not here to comfort you because like I'm not in the state to comfort someone.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Should I just go get Bashar?"
Everyone knows this. Just get Bashar.
And like, yeah. I'm like, "Bring tissues as well, please." And then Bashar comes and I just tell him, like, I was fully broken at this stage. I was like, man, because he knows me because I'm an open book to the people I can be open to.
Yeah.
I'm an open book in general, but there are some pages that can't show everyone.
Level is locked.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Such a gamer.
Oh my God. Cut that out. Just kidding.
So Bashar comes and he's like, he's just asking what's wrong. And I just said, "I feel so undeserving." And he's like, "Okay." I was like, fair enough. I just undeserving. And I told him about what they said. I told him about what you said. I was like, man, I don't deserve like a good girl. I don't deserve, obviously having a girl is a desire of mine. Like, it's something,
of course.
Yeah. And I just felt like I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve, just everything that God's given me. The past year, like me coming to Graceway, again, I don't know if it's my testimony or not. I haven't.
You've been giving bits and pieces.
Just a little bit. And I was just saying, like, I don't deserve what God's given me this whole past year where he's answered so many prayers with my family, with everything. I don't deserve it. And Bashar was like, "Yeah, you don't deserve it." And it hit me because, like, Bashar's obviously very loving, but the fact is that none of us deserve any of it.
Yeah. And
it was, like I said this at Bible study yesterday. I was like, God didn't just, he didn't sort of nudge me in the right direction. Because my heart's desire was to do better. And that's always been a thing. But just more often than not, I'm not where I want to be with my relationship with God, with conquering sins, all this stuff. And then he just, like, rather than nudge me in the right direction, he just, like, fully, like, threw just yeeted me across to the right direction. And from that, I just understood, like genuinely, it was like a full 180. Like, and it, like I said, I didn't understand my worth, but it was a positive thing.
Yeah.
I know it's not very relevant to what you were saying, but I just thought this has been my mind and heart recently, so I thought I'd share it. It's just, if you don't feel deserved of anything, you're not.
That's literally it. You're not. Yeah. That's the whole point, though.
Yeah, no. And then, like, it just, I think the more we understand that, the more we actually understand that God is loving. Like, he has given us all these things, even when we literally, like, spit in his face and put him on the cross, because we did that to him. It just, we're discussing, but he still loves us. And he actually gave us worth, which is wild. Yeah. Sorry, I just...
No, I'm happy that you did that. Thank you for sharing that.
That's okay. Anyway, moving on. My segues aren't going to be anything good.
It is what it is. This is just...
going to say, anyway, let's move on. New topic.
Okay.
So you spoke about your Pentecostalness.
Oh, yes, my Pentecostalness. That's a word.
The Pentecostal Church you were going to.
Yeah.
You don't have to name names because that's
I
fine.
won't.
What, if you don't mind sharing again?
Sure.
What caused you to leave? What caused you to?
Well, I went to 3. So which one? Like,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Church hopper over here.
I want to know your experience of that, if you don't mind sharing.
Sure. And okay, this just to preface, nothing against the Pentecostal Church.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I'm not slamming a church. Slamming a church, nothing like that. It's nothing to do with the denomination. It's more just my experience with this particular place and maybe some of the people. As people, just need to preface because I don't want it to come across.
No, yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
When I was talking before about toxic like cycles and leadership and things like that, that was really prevalent in this church. And it's fine that people have their flaws. It's just worrying to me when they're in leadership and they play on those sort of. I'm going to use the word manipulative because a lot of it was manipulation and it was a lot of emotional coercion. Not even just necessarily about like church, but it was just everything. It was a lot of life control, and it's fine as a leader to kind of say, hey, you're not doing this right, but it was more a, hey, you can't come to our church if this is what you're doing. And it was there was a lot of people that were like banned, which to me,
Banned?
Tell me what you think about this. Okay. Yeah, banned from going to the church because of like something that they had done, which is valid if it's a huge thing, but do you believe that a church, we're going on a tangent here, but we'll come back.
That's
do you
fine.
believe that a church can ban someone from going to their church? Or do you think they should? If it's like not, they didn't murder someone. They didn't like groom a child, something really dramatic. They just maybe they had a fight with someone or they disagreed or there was, you know what I mean?
Well, there are steps biblically.
Yeah.
The final step is actually, even Paul says he
cast them out.
Cast them to the devil. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, okay. So there are steps. It doesn't necessarily have to be like the most extreme cases of murder or whatever it is. But there is steps. I might be butchering it, but there's talk to them one-on-one.
Yeah.
Talk to them with wise
A
counsel.
witness,
Bring it in front of the church, and then
cast them out.
Cast them out.
Yeah. So what if it's step 1 to 4 straight away?
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of what it was.
Yeah, okay.
Which is because obviously you're going to have conflict in church.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why that's written so that you know how to handle it when it does happen.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the time in this community, it was very 0 to 100 straight away. And it was very, we're banning you because we can. And it was because you didn't completely obey the things that we wanted. So it was very much like it almost felt like puppets. I'm not going to lie to you. Like it felt like do as I please. And it wasn't always God things that they wanted. It was just like this is what I want. And it was a very, honestly, it sounds bad, but I don't know a single person who went to that church, that left that church, that has communication with anyone that still goes there, because they won't communicate with you if you leave, which is just not healthy.
Yeah.
Because I've left a few churches now, not for toxic reasons. I've just gone to different places.
Yeah.
And I'm still in healthy relationship with those people that go to those churches. That's how it should be. Because it's not like, oh, you left my church, we're not friends anymore. But that's kind of how it was. It's kind of just like, you can't support our church, so we cut you out. I'm very sugarcoating it here because I don't want to not blaspheme, but I don't want to talk badly about any church.
Yeah,
it just wasn't a healthy environment. Also, my parents, who are very like wise and I trust them a lot, were never like
for that
it.
church. Okay.
And so that's a big sign, because every time they've ever not been for something, I've turned around and be like, oh, they were right. I was just stubborn. So listen to your parents.
If they're wise. No, listen to them.
I mean, obey your parents. I know that was really like brief.
No, that's fine. It's better probably not putting people on blast.
Of course, yeah. And I don't want to really,
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I think like even with my church, there was like, it wasn't really a falling out between the people, like my old church, sorry. But whenever I see like my old church, it's genuinely like family. Like There's nothing that it will actually set me apart from
that's
these
how
guys.
it is with every other church I've been to except
so
this
just
one.
that one. It's cool to see, because a lot of Christians, a lot of people have been affected by the church, or affected not even by a specific church, but maybe people, believers in general, Christians, and they sort of turn their face away from
God.
not even, sometimes God, but sometimes it's just going to church, or which in my opinion is, I'm gonna be brutal, the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
You're right.
Like, because, and I always say this, I'm like, people, like our friend said the story about someone from that was a Christian.
Yeah.
They
Left the faith.
and they said, oh, because Christians, like, you see Christians not doing the right things or whatever. And I'm just like,
it was actually just one Christian that showed one thing that we don't believe in, and they turned their face from the whole faith from it.
Yeah. And I'm like, firstly, again, in a second, you're probably not saved at that point.
It's true. Yeah.
And if you, as a believer, if you're relying on other Christians and other people's works and whatnot, you've got Christianity completely wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's not actually, of course, Christians should be on this, like, they should model what the Bible says.
Yeah.
But the Bible isn't, it literally says, like, people, like, we're going to have Judases, we're going to have like stuff like that. But this is the thing, and this is going to be a bit mental, but I heard Andrew Tate.
Okay.
not the best. I just
say it. It's fine.
I heard him say in like a podcast that there's no true Christians anymore, and that's why Christianity isn't real and whatnot. And I was just thinking about that point. I'm like, I'm sure people have this point of view. I'm like, that's the dumbest point of view I've heard, because Christianity, again, it's not on Christians. It's about the actual belief. And if you look at the Bible in itself and you do research, you will know that it's true. And God is real. Everything Jesus did is real. All the Old Testament, all the New Testament is real.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not living up to a standard of the Bible doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was just...
but yeah, it goes back to what you said. Sorry, I cut you off. It goes back to what you just said about people putting their faith in humans, which also goes back to what you said about we're not worthy. Like, we don't deserve it because we don't live up to it, and we never will. So if you're looking at other Christians to model your religion for you, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. And people are hurt by Christians.
Yeah.
And this is why this is what the whole thing I was going to say. With you probably were hurt by Christians. You were hurt by the church, but it didn't sort of
push me away.
Yeah, it didn't.
Honestly, I think about that regularly, and I can't do anything but thank God for it. And I do regularly, because I've got friends that are in the same situation, whether it's the same church or other churches, or, to be honest, I like even friends that were in the church, they had a relationship, that relationship broke down. It doesn't even have to be super toxic. They just broke up, and they left the church, and they like complete other direction. And it has nothing to do with the relationship. It was kind of just like that was what they were getting from church. And so I look at them, and like it's not any glory to me at all, because if it was up to me and my sinful nature, I would be doing the easy thing, which is just running the other way. Because like you said, churches, you can get hurt from Christians. Yeah. And pretty badly too. Like church hurt can be bad, but it's genuinely Jesus. He's just kept me solid. Even if it's been seasons of like wavering, or I haven't been as strong in my faith, I've never ever completely gone off the path. And I just I've thought about it, and I'm like, I just don't think I ever physically could do that. It just has never been something that has been an option. I would rather be weak in my faith and still in my faith than just off.
Yeah.
But that's honestly just God. Like, I can't do anything but thank him for that.
God is
He's good when we don't deserve it, which is all the time.
All the time. Yeah. All right, so we're back. I mean, we're still here for you guys, but we had some technical difficulties. So we're just back.
We're back.
I had a question. No, I had a statement. It wasn't really a question. You were talking about the church, and we were talking about the worth, and I shared my thing.
Yeah.
I think it's there are two sort of different people, and there are people that they'll have these experiences, and they'll be burnt, and then they'll have people with the same experiences, but they'll be refined, just like in a fire where you get burnt. I mean, you get put in the furnace. You're either coming out pure as gold, or like refined, or you're not coming out. Yeah. And I think with you, with your church being and I'm not saying this is your strength, but through God's strength, and even with my situation, through God's strength and God's grace, we've come out sort of on top. Which is amazing. I didn't know you before last year.
Okay. We did, but you don't remember me.
Of course, I was like 2 years old.
He was like 2 and I was like 5.
Yeah.
Still. But I know what you mean.
Do you think there's been a drastic change since going to...
Oh, 100%.
I think that's like God sending you to Graceway is the sort of the catalyst of all that happening? I think it's before that, after that.
The catalyst towards the change?
Yeah, your change, yeah.
100%. Yeah, I don't think that if I stayed there, I would be who I am, sorry. Yeah, I think so. It's almost like God giving me Graceway was sort of like a gift. It was a gift. Definitely. Our church is literally the biggest blessing. But like, it was almost like you've been through this with this many churches, and like you've been burnt by these many people, but I'm going to make it. Like it was all worth it. Because I feel like if I came to a church like Graceway or even Graceway without having any of that prior experience, probably would have just been something I took for granted. Whereas I come to church and I'm just so thankful for the friendships I have, like, and just for the leadership that we have. And like, I always walk out knowing that God has spoken. And like, even just if I'm like you were saying with the boys, like you just cannot get me bashed. Like you get me bashed. Like, you know that you've got that.
Yeah.
And it's not like going on a bit of a tangent, but it's not like like a shallow friendship where he's just going to puff up your ego and make you feel better. He fully said to you, you're not deserving. But it was to build you up and to realign you with God. And I feel like if I didn't have any experiences with terrible friendships in the past, I wouldn't appreciate how good I have it now.
For sure, yeah.
And so I think that 100% it was the catalyst for change. And I'm honestly not where I want to be. No one is. But I'm not where I was, which is so, like, it's huge.
Yeah.
Like probably the only person who knows me in both situations would be my sister, because obviously we live together and stuff. But she can testify that I'm not who I was then. And, like, it's all... Yeah. No, go.
I was just going to say, like, even the past year or however long I've known you for, I've seen like a lot of change and growth, which is...
Well, that's encouraging. Thanks. Because I feel like I don't know, like you don't notice it in yourself because we're our own worst critics, and you're always seeing the things that people don't see and the ways that you're stuffing up that people don't see. But it's nice to see when people like acknowledge that God is working.
I look at myself like 7 years ago and I'm like, man, I wish I could be like that kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, like if I was that kid, I would have like
confidence issues, insecurities. I don't want to be who I was 7 years ago. Thank you though.
I think because I just look at the things that I've done.
Yeah.
Like in the past, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. I wish I was that kid, but then I'm like, well, or I can still do that stuff.
True. For me, I feel like it's more like I wish I could go back and not make the mistakes I made.
It's definitely that.
Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like what was 7 years ago? I was 21. Like I was 20. Like 21 stupid. No offense to 23.
7 years ago.
Oh yeah, I was 20. Sorry, my math is not good. I'm an English teacher. 20. What is 20? 20 is like fresh out of school almost. Okay, not really. It's like 3 years after school. But I wasn't doing anything. It was more just like if I knew what those 7 years would entail and I could go back and not do those things. But if I didn't do those things, like I said, I wouldn't be... Like it's so cliche to be like, oh my gosh, my mistakes, made me who I am. But it actually is true. And so in a way, I guess I'm grateful.
Yeah. We were talking about this yesterday. I always ask these people. I asked a few people... were you there when we went to... Yeah, you were there when we went to Cronulla.
Yep.
I was just like, we were just sitting and just asking random questions. I asked Yusuf and Ashley. I was like, do you guys have regrets?
Who would say no to that?
No, because people say like, no, I don't have regrets because
they taught me.
Yeah, because I want to be the person I am today.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm just like, look, that's a point.
Mm.
It's not a really good one. It's a point. And because I have so many regrets, and if I don't regret the sin that I have, then like I'm just gonna keep doing that sin.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I don't have regret. Like if I didn't have regrets about saying that one thing to that person that hurt them,
true.
Then am I gonna do the same thing? Like I don't know. You don't live in regret, but you have regret.
Yeah, that's true, because they help you to not make those same mistakes.
Yeah, you're learning. Was there anything that you wanted to sort of say on you have this platform of three people?
Of three people? Is the Holy Spirit the third person? He is with us. No, not really. Nothing like pressing.
Okay, so the reason we cut is because we'll take a Polaroid each episode. This is the first episode, as you can see. It's not just a random corkboard in the background. Apparently this needs charging. I didn't know that. So
who knew?
I think it's good to go.
It'll be charged enough to take one photo, surely.
Yeah. Flash on off.
Off. I think, because the lights are bright.
All right, so I'm gonna get Sarah to take it. I'm gonna just get every guest to take it, even if it's the worst photo on earth, and then they can sign it, and then we'll stick it up.
Sounds good.
So
how do you want this done?
We'll take it. It's autofocus everything, so it's pretty good Polaroid.
How do I hold this thing?
The thing.
Like this?
Yeah, then the red button is there. So you guys can see us taking awkward
selfie.
selfie.
Drop this.
Should I move the mic? You guys probably can't hear us properly when we do this, but that's okay.
All right. Okay, you have to dark.
I think that's what the...
What?
That's what the little panel was for. That's okay.
You're supposed to take them out. Just put it in the dark.
All right.
I think.
I'll put it in this cupboard.
Just sit on it. Guys, settle the debate. When you take a Polaroid, do you put it in the dark?
No, I think you do, but I think the little flap was the dark.
What flap? It comes out.
Yeah, but it came out with a dark flap over it.
Really?
Yeah, did you see that?
Oh, I didn't see that.
No. Well, we're not going to take another one because it's expensive stuff.
Yes, it is what it is.
Yeah. So to finish off, this podcast, I don't know where this podcast has gone.
It's been fun.
Yeah, I think it's been good. And if the whole point, if the guest enjoys themselves, I don't know, they feel like they've shared what they want to share.
Push me out of my comfort zone. Guys, if you don't know me, I have an aversion to talking about emotions and deep things.
Yeah. Look, I was trying to poke the bear, but not like push the bear. What was I saying?
To finish off.
Yes. I'm sorry if it was a bit all over the place. Again, first episode, genuinely like the first episode that we recorded.
Yeah. Oh, it is. But you know what I feel like the vibe is?
What?
And it's like it's like a good thing. I feel like it'll be like we're talking and like you guys are just like in the room.
Well, that's the whole.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
like
the whole point.
We're just having a chat. And like if you were having a chat with us in real life, it's chaos. So
it's true.
We wouldn't want to portray an image that's not true.
That's generally what my goal is. And
chaos.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't know what I've shared in the previous episode or whatever, but that's like my main goal of this podcast, to give people a platform.
Yeah.
First and foremost, so I can, like, even if there's no viewers,
you can get to know them.
Yeah, I get to know you. I get to like learn from you. I get to experience your experiences.
Yeah.
Not experience, but you know what I mean. Yeah, and I'm sure there's been an episode before, and I don't know. There's been an episode where I explain everything about the podcast. Yeah. Maybe even share my testimony, but we shall see. I'm gonna get the guests. I will ask them. I should have asked you beforehand, but would you want to do the outro?
Okay, sure. How would you like me to do it? I feel like
people would just like.
Okay.
You can make it as memey as possible. You can.
Memey.
You can do it serious. You can do it for fun.
Sure. All right. Thank you so much for watching Jonah's podcast, guys. If you enjoyed it, please let him know. He loves the validation. I'm just kidding. But for real, though, it means a lot that you guys are watching it and listening to my story. And I'm sure whoever else comes on will be grateful that you're taking the time to listen to them. If you would like to be part of it, please let Jonah know. It's actually really fun. It's such a vibe. And you get to see the puppies.
Is it stressful?
Listen, it's not super stressful because it's just like having a chat with Jonah.
Yeah.
He will give you zero warning about what he's going to ask you. So
That
come
depends.
prepared with everything. Yeah, it depends. If you want to talk about something specific, then you'll know. But in all honesty, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, etc., etc.
Where can they find us?
You can find him
He has no
on
idea.
Instagram at Jonah the Pod.
Jonah and the pod.
Jonah and the Pod.
Yep.
Have you? Oh no, you need to explain the meaning for that eventually.
But again, the first episode.
First episode, sorry. At Jonah and the Pod. Is there any other? Are you on Spotify? Is there anything else?
Spotify,
YouTube. Anywhere you listen to your
TikTok.
podcasts. TikTok.
Yeah, I'll make little clips. Yeah.
He is advanced.
Not
So
really.
you
It's
can
gonna
find
be
him
tough.
anywhere you get social media. And if you have a social media aversion, I don't know how you're listening to this. Just, you need to be on a social media.
So I'll send you a
Yeah, we'll send you a
cassette tape.
A cassette tape. Alrighty.
All right. Yep. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you, Sarah, for
You're
being
welcome.
a lovely guest. And I hope you enjoyed. Hope it wasn't too awkward.
No, it's
Not
fine.
awkward, but like the cuts and whatnot. I hope everything's recording.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Thank you.
God
again.
bless.
And yeah, see
Peace.
you. Very good. Very cute.
Am I doing it on the board now?
You can put it up.
Where am I sticking this?
It's anywhere you like.
Are you filming?
Yes. Almost stacked it.
Nice.
This does not zoom out at all.
Oh. It's the green pin.